Hey, I'm Zach.
And I'm Jesse.
You know, we're over a dozen episodes into this series, and Elon's still got a bunch of disruptions up his sleeve.
We'd better pack all the rest into this episode, or we'll never finish.
We've talked about so many of Elon's disruptive companies. I forget, have we discussed Neuralink yet?
That's right. I forgot about Neuralink Corporation. That's the company Elon founded in 2016 to develop a brain-machine interface. Sounds so much like science fiction.
Elon says he actually got the idea from a science fiction novel, the Culture series of books by Ian M. Banks.
It's just incredible that in such a short amount of time, Neuralink has developed the N1 module that wirelessly sends information from over 3,000 electrodes attached robotically to a patient's brain using threads that are 1/10 the cross-section of a human hair.
Elon wants to develop this technology not only to help people with spinal cord injuries and other brain disorders, but because he doesn't want us to become house cats.
You see, as artificial intelligence gets smarter, there's just no denying that humans are going to get left behind if we can't interface with computers that are getting faster and faster.
Are we really just going to keep typing and speaking as a way to input information? It's painfully slow compared to how fast we can think.
With Neuralink, humans will have a much faster way to interface with computers, which will give us superhuman powers of intelligence to keep up with supercomputers that are surpassing us in terms of computational speed. And speaking of AI, Elon founded the nonprofit OpenAI in 2015. In fact, it shares office space with Neuralink. OpenAI's purpose is to develop artificial intelligence openly so that no one entity controls artificial intelligence.
As computer intelligence gets smarter every year, there will come a day, probably around 2045, according to futurist Ray Kurzweil, called the singularity, when computer intelligence will surpass human intelligence.
Talk about a disruption to all humans. This philosophy behind OpenAI is that we should be developing artificial intelligence that helps humans.
Because I'm sure by now you can imagine there are plenty of people and companies in the world that are using artificial intelligence for their own profit.
Yeah, there have already been national elections whose outcomes were affected by artificial intelligence algorithms.
Just because most of us don't understand AI doesn't mean that AI isn't a threat.
Elon has put it very succinctly. The biggest issue I see with so-called AI experts is they think they know more than they do, and they think they are smarter than they actually are. This tends to plague smart people. They define themselves by their intelligence, and they don't like the idea that a machine could be way smarter than them. So they discount the idea, which is fundamentally flawed.
He goes on, I am really quite close. I am very close to the cutting edge in AI, and it scares the hell out of me. It's capable of vastly more than almost anyone knows, and the rate of improvement is exponential.
And mark my words, AI is far more dangerous than nukes. Far. So why do we have no regulatory oversight? This is insane. AI is a rare case where I think we need to be proactive in regulation than be reactive.
And so, since Elon knows we probably won't regulate AI through normal government policy, he is trying to mitigate the risk with OpenAI.
If all of us have access to AI, at least one of us can't monopolize its use on humanity.
This next disruption seems like another technology you'd only find in science fiction. Hyperloop.
Elon publicly mentioned it in 2012 and published a white paper about it in 2013.
Hyperloop is an electrically powered, sealed system of vacuum tubes through which a pod carrying passengers and cargo can travel without friction, allowing for incredibly fast speeds.
In 2015, Elon built a 1-kilometer test Hyperloop tunnel outside of SpaceX, where he invites teams from around the world to compete every year in testing their pod propulsion prototypes.
In just the first 4 years of competition, teams have gotten their test pod speeds up to 287 miles an hour, and Elon proposes that speeds faster than modern passenger jets can be achieved.
Imagine traveling safely from LA to San Francisco, for instance, at speeds of 760 miles per hour. You'd make the trip in just 35 minutes.
While Elon may not have started a Hyperloop company, he inspired others who did. Currently, there are over half a dozen companies working on developing the technology that didn't exist before.
Companies like Virgin Hyperloop One today have contracts to build Hyperloop systems like this one, from the city center of Pune to Mumbai International Airport, which regularly takes over 3 hours. With Hyperloop, just 25 minutes.
And if that isn't fast enough for you, how about hopping on a rocket and flying to the other side of the globe at 27,000 kilometers an hour?
Yeah, I know. Science fiction, right? Wrong.
Elon is building and testing Starship as we speak. Now that he's figured out how to land a rocket, what's so crazy about it?
It's just as crazy as it must have seemed to people at the turn of the last century for people to fly across the ocean in a shiny tube.
Hop on a Starship in New York and arrive in Tokyo about 37 minutes later.
And according to Elon, the cost per seat should be about the same as full-fare economy in an aircraft. Sound disruptive?
And how about this for a finale? Elon will be launching his Starship rocket to the Moon and Mars to establish Moon and Mars colonies in the next decade.
Elon's rocket innovations, including the landing of rockets and the reuse of them, will reduce the cost of interplanetary travel dramatically.
The US landed 6 manned spacecraft on the Moon between 1969 and 1972 at a cost in today's dollars of $288.1 billion. That's $48 billion per mission.
Elon estimates he'll be able to launch a manned mission for only $2 million. That's 24,000 times cheaper.
The innovations in rocket technology that Elon has been able to achieve in such a short amount of time is simply astounding.
Now, while these past 5 innovations that we've discussed haven't been fully realized yet, they are more than just blueprints on a drawing board.
All of them are actively being developed by some of the brightest minds in the world, and all of them are proven to work.
And in all of their respective fields, they are the most disruptive technologies.
In our final episode of this series, we will try to put all of these innovations into perspective so that you can see that Elon is the undisputed disruptor.
Thanks for watching.
Now you know.
Thanks so much for watching Now You Know. We work hard to bring you videos about things that we think you'll find useful, but we need to know from you what you want to see, so leave your comments below. Also, don't forget to go over to our Patreon page, where for as little as $1 a month, you can watch our Patreon bonus story every week on Tesla Time News. Thanks again. We'll see you soon.